we have talked about it, and people don't do this in Star Wars, especially, but other stuff is if you don't like something, don't watch it.
Hey guys, welcome to the Rogue 3 podcast, where we discuss everything Star Wars with a positive outlook on the saga we love. I'm Austin.
I'm Mike.
And I'm Austin.
And today we are going to be talking about one of Austin's favorite topics, Galaxy's Edge at Disney World and Disneyland, apparently, because we went to both within like a month. Because we're crazy people.
That is
So-
crazy.
We apparently Mike thinks that the Austins are crazy. So let's talk about what we are what have we been doing in Star Wars this past week. Mike, why don't you tell us a little bit about what your past week has looked like?
Yeah, so I started back on the trying to watch stuff in the morning, and I thought I was watching the Clone Wars, and I won't say I got bored of it, but I was not into it, loving it. And so I decided to go back and watch The Mandalorian in prep for the Mandalorian Grogu movie later this year. I've also been listening to an audiobook of Tarkin, which is a book I've never read. I don't even own it because it's very difficult to find at a reasonable price. So I've been listening to that, and I'm about 1/3 of the way through, and it's kind of interesting. Not much has happened, frankly, in it. And then
That's
I'm
James
also-
Luceno, right?
Oh, it is, yeah. And it's really early. It's before Rogue One. Like the book was out
Mhm.
before Rogue One,
Mhm.
and so it
Yeah.
talks about the Death Star, but like not much of those characters are mentioned at all so far, and I
Yeah.
don't think they will be at all. And then I'm reading Shadow of the Sith, and that's
a
good
big
book.
one.
And I've read that. It is a big one, and it's a big read. But I like that book, so I decided to read something again. So that's
love
what
it.
I've been doing. Yeah.
I don't know
That's
that I've ever rerun a Star Wars book.
I've done a couple. I
Yeah, good for
re-listened to
you.
Thrawn Alliances as an audiobook on my way to work. And there was a lot in there that I did not realize.
I
The
don't
the
like
planet
that.
is Mokivja with the J at the end. I just kind of
Mokibja.
in my head.
There's
Mokivja.
Silent J.
No, that's
Mokivja.
not right.
Yeah,
That's not good.
right? It's interesting to listen to an audiobook and be like, is that how that's pronounced? No one's ever said that in a TV show or movie, so I don't know.
It's canon.
Right? Yes.
Are the
Yeah.
audio books canon? That's a big question.
Tantive.
Ugh.
Yeah.
You know, I know that that's what they say is correct, but Tantive sounds so much better than Tantive.
This is why Lego has the right idea calling it like Boba Fett's ship or
Boba
Leia's
Fett's
ship.
Yeah, exactly. So what have you guys what have you guys been doing besides going to these parks?
Yeah, well, I have unfortunately found a new love. I'm sorry, Austin. And my new love is Star Wars: The Old Republic. I started playing 2 weeks
Oh.
ago again with my brother. We played
Nice.
originally when it came out in 2011. So
Oh, no.
I'm playing a Sith Inquisitor. I'm a healer. If anyone's on the Starforge server, I'm right there. Feel free to join. I'm still working on leveling my character, and I have a couple of alts too, a Jedi Knight and a Sith Imperial Agent. But super into it. Drop a comment if you want to play. So I'm a big fan. Austin will not play with me. Austin refuses to play that game.
It's more video games in general that I don't super play.
He's more of a Dreamlight Valley kind of guy.
Yeah.
He's
And
more of a
Pokemon,
Dreamlight Valley.
and
And he
No, and
actively
Pokemon.
plays.
Yeah.
It's a lovely way for me to connect with my brother who doesn't live near me. So
Nice.
I think that
Cool.
we're both celebrating that one.
Cool.
I think he listens to this, so thanks, Ben.
For me, obviously our parks trip that we're about to dive into was the big thing, but I did get Art of the Acolyte that came in. It's been
Ooh.
very exciting. It's been a good read. I'm not super far deep into it, but I'm really liking it. The actual like writing in it, I'm learning a lot. It's very in depth. Learning a lot about like how they developed the show, and it makes me regret even more that we're not getting season 2.
Yeah.
It's real
It
bummer.
stings.
Hey. You never know. You never
You're right.
know.
We don't know.
Deadpool happened.
They
Deadpool had
brought Hannah Montana back for a special 20 years later. Okay.
that's true.
Yeah. So do you guys want to dive into kind of your experiences at the parks? Austin, this is your first time ever going to Disneyland. So you got to see kind of the
Yes.
differences between those two places and then got to experience that. So do you guys want to dive into some of the differences between those two places?
Yeah, for sure. Austin, you want to start?
Yeah. Yeah, so I think I'll start by kind of like level setting what is available at these parks, and I'm going to use do some terminology explaining before we dive super deep into this. So, in the United States, there are two Disney resorts. In California, there is the Disneyland Resort, which is home to Disneyland Park, Disney's California Adventure, which are two theme parks, and then several hotels and a small shopping district called Downtown Disney. Disney World Resort, Walt Disney World Resort, is in Orlando, Florida. It is home to four theme parks. The one relevant for this conversation is Disney's Hollywood Studios. It's also got water parks, like 20 something hotels. It's out in the middle of nowhere, whereas Disneyland's in the middle of a city.
Like
Very
literally
different vibes.
in the middle
Yeah,
of a city.
literally in the middle of the city. Yeah. And Disney World has like what's called the bubble, which means there's like no outside interference to those parks. At each of these resorts, there are several Star Wars offerings. At Disney World in the shopping district, which is called Disney Springs, there's a store called the Star Wars Galactic Outpost. Small little Star Wars store. And then at Disney's Hollywood Studios, you have the Star Tours ride, which is by itself, and then Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, which is the primary land. Disneyland Resort, Austin.
There also used to be a fabulous Star Wars cruise experience called the Halcyon.
Yes, Galactic Star Cruiser.
Needs to come back.
RIP. Yeah.
R.I.P.
So at Disneyland Resort, there are similar offerings. There is in their shopping district downtown Disney, there is a store called the Star Wars Trading Post. And then in Disneyland Park, they have Star Tours in Tomorrowland, and then they have Star Wars Galaxy's Edge as well. So similar offerings, but there are some pretty key differences between the two. I'll go ahead and cover like what we experienced at Disney World for this trip. We had a great time. We stayed at the Swan Resort. What's great about that is that it's walking distance from Hollywood Studios. So Austin and I were actually able to take it's about a 15-minute walk along the water to that park. So that was a really nice experience. First thing we did in the morning was ride Rise of the Resistance, which is the big marquee Star Wars attraction in Galaxy's Edge. And then we got off Rise of Resistance. We went and had some breakfast Ronto wraps, which is always a treat. It's my favorite way to start a day at Hollywood Studios. And I got to try for the first time. We tried the Tatooine Sunset, which is kind of their little like mocktail drink. It was like an unsweet tea with like lemonade. Then it had melon and blueberry flavors to it. It was very refreshing.
It's
drink.
delicious. I don't like an iced tea really. I like a hot tea, but not an iced tea, and I thought it was delicious.
Yeah. So that was fun. And then we went and did Smuggler's Run, the Millennium Falcon ride. And we unfortunately did not get pilots. This time we had two good ones, and so we did fine. So it was not too bad of an experience. Then we ended the day with Star Tours, and we got the combination of Darth Vader. We did the pod race on Tatooine. We had Ahsoka, and then we went to Peridia for our last planet. Which for people that have experienced Star Tours will know what all that means. But I won't get too in the weeds of it for spoiler purposes. But had a great time. And then we went to Epcot later that day, which was having the Festival of the Arts, which is a big like art festival. You can see artists from around the world and also a lot of like Disney featured artists. And they had a really large Star Wars art section. We got to see a lot of really cool Star Wars posters and things there that I think Austin and I want to bring home at some point. But we were not ready to drop the big chunk of change we needed to do that day.
Yeah. Whenever we have our own house.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll
We'd
need to
already
make ours
bought some
smaller.
stuff that day. Austin bought. I've got them here with me, but he bought Sabak cards for the
Mm,
first time, so that was
nice.
fun. And then in Galaxy's Edge, there's a store called the Toydarian Toy Maker. They're going to be like toys specifically for Galaxy's Edge, and we're slowly acquiring that large collection. But we got the Jar Jar
So
one.
cute.
That's really
Isn't he
fun.
so cute?
And
Yeah.
then we got Hera, who
Oh,
was new at the
nice.
time. Yeah, so that
Okay.
was fun. Um, and yeah, that pretty much covered our trip. We did go to the Star Wars store in Disney Springs. That store is not very large, but it's a good, like, if you don't have to
Mhm.
buy a ticket to go there, and they've got a lot
Yeah.
of stuff that you're like not going to find in, like, a typical store, but nothing we hadn't seen in the parks, and I don't think we made any purchases this trip.
Okay. Yeah.
Um,
The trouble is with some of this stuff is it's not refreshing at the rate I'd like, which is for everything to be new every time I go. Unfortunately, when you go 4 to 5 times a year, it's not gonna refresh that fast.
You're starting to see the same stuff as it turns
I'm seeing
out.
the same stuff. I was so worried about getting that C3PO head. If you've watched my short about unboxing that, you'd know what I'm talking about. Um, and they still sell them. There's so many there, and it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing for me. But oh well.
Austin, do you want to dive into our Disneyland trip?
Yes. So last month, so these are about a month apart, we went to Disneyland. We were out there visiting a couple of Austin's friends who very graciously allowed us to stay with them while we went to Disneyland. And they came along with us to Disneyland. We had a lovely, lovely time. Um, so that was my first time. I've been to Disney World many times at this point. Thank you, Austin. Because one of the things with the Disneyland Galaxy's Edge, it is extraordinarily similar, not identical, but extraordinarily similar to the Disney World Galaxy's Edge.
Mm.
Um, so we didn't spend as much time there as we would have spent if we, during one of our normal trips to Disney World, because we wanted to experience kind of the stuff that Disneyland has that our park does not have. So we didn't ride Rise of the Resistance, we didn't ride Smuggler's Run, but we did go do a lot of shopping. The first day we got there, we went to the Star Wars Trading Post, which Austin mentioned is in
Mm.
downtown Disney. So that's like the little shopping district outside of the parks that anyone can go to. Um, I think Austin, you may have picked up some pens while you were there.
And that's where I got BB-8. I've been eyeing him.
Oh,
They sell
cute.
him in Florida. I've been eyeing him for a long time, and I decided to get him. I have a
Okay.
chopper on my desk at work,
Mhm.
and I'm going to get him a little friend. So
Yes,
Nice.
exactly. And so that was mostly that trip. We walked around.
for comparison purposes, that store is a lot larger
Yeah.
Mm.
than the equivalent one.
The content is largely the same. Um,
Mhm.
there's nothing. I don't think there was anything specifically unique. They may have had a couple of things that they have at the park that they don't have at the other store. But nothing was new to me. Um, which, like I said, understandable. Still a little disappointing. I was hoping to stumble upon something really, really wild. Um,
Mhm.
so we went to the next day. We went to Disneyland. We did Star Tours in Tomorrowland. Their Star Tours is, I'm pretty sure, identical to ours in almost every way, except part of the line layout's slightly different. I think it's maybe flipped. Um, and we went to Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland. One of the big differences is a third entrance, which sounds like the silliest little thing to bring up, but it's definitely the best entrance. It kind of brings you right into the center of the park. Like the other two entrances
Yeah.
bring you in from the side and kind of slowly walk you into Star Wars feels, whereas this one just throws you right into the middle of the market.
Mm.
Or right out by the droid depot. So that was actually kind of cool. We loved that one. Um, we did get to try some new treats. So we did try the pink milk. So they just swapped out their green milk for pink milk. We did try a Falumpset cheese skewer, which was just like a big skewer of cheese and potato, pretty much.
It was basically like a
A corn
corn
dog.
dog with like mozzarella cheese instead of a corn dog, and there was like
Okay.
cubes of like potato inside of it.
It was
Hmm.
interesting. The sauce was incredible.
Mhm.
Mm.
The actual skewer itself was kind of dry. It was fine,
It's like a fun
but
vegetarian snack. Like it was
it
like a
is a fun
cool
vegetarian snack.
thing to do. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would eat it again, but I wouldn't like make a beeline for it. Is like the way
Yeah,
I would
Mhm.
describe it.
exactly.
Okay.
We did get to try Melu Run juice from Rebels. So that in our world, that's lemonade, blueberry, cranberry, lemon juice, and a desert pear syrup.
Mm.
We did get to see Kylo and the Mandalorian and Grogu. However, we did get to talk to our favorite Galaxy's Edge character, Vi Marathi. We'll talk about it in a little bit, but what made that even more special was that she's not going to be there any longer. So we got to be
Mhm.
there on towards the end of her tenure there, which was very nice.
She talked to us for a long time, and we have like
She
a
did talk
pretty
to us.
good long chat
The
with her.
Vi's tend to talk to us for a long time, I think, because no one knows who they are. Uh,
Yeah.
but I love it, and we get to kind of banter with them and
Mhm.
talk in universe. Which when we reference these things, most people don't know what it is. So
Right.
it's fun to be able to do. We did pick up a couple of more little toys from Toydarian Toy Maker. We got a little Kylo Ren.
Oh,
And
nice.
then this was actually a really interesting one that we got. As the second one, we got Chrysanthemum,
Oh, yeah.
which I think it's so funny that they make him, but they do.
Yeah.
And he's kind of ugly, but adorable in a different way. We also picked up this Bina's Guide to the Creatures of Batu, which
Oh.
was a little free handout, and it's actually really cute. It's like a little children's
Mm.
scavenger hunt,
Oh,
and
cool.
the children have to go around Galaxy's Edge and draw different creatures, and there's all these illustrated pieces in it, and they get stamps, and you get a sticker at the end if you complete it. We didn't
Mm.
complete it. I didn't want to mark up the book. I think the book is
Okay.
absolutely adorable. I
Yeah.
think the illustrations are really well done, and it's a really fun activity for kids.
Mhm.
So I just wanted to show that off. Since it's like an end universe piece, I'm going to keep it for the collection. Just
Yeah.
because I'm such a sucker for end universe pieces. Um, so that was pretty cool.
I got 2 refrigerator magnets.
Yeah.
I
Mm.
got this one. This just shows like the
Oh,
silhouette of
nice.
Black Spire, and
Yeah.
then I got this one that has like all of the sequel trilogy crew.
Mhm.
I need to figure out who the artist is. It's the artist that's like on most of the Galaxy's Edge merch,
Mm.
but I
Terrific
really like
artist.
their work.
I really
So it
do.
was
Yeah.
cool to get that.
Nice.
At the end, so one of the big differences between the two is that there is an evening show at Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland.
Mm.
It's not special fireworks for Galaxy's Edge. It's that you can see the regular Disneyland fireworks from Galaxy's
Mhm.
Edge. And
Okay.
so they decided to they just like made music and stuff to go along with
Yeah.
those that are Star
Make
Wars
it
focused.
incorporate it into the end of the day there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Overall, largely the same as Disney World. There are some minor differences, but a great trip. It was exciting to go back so soon.
Nice.
Kind of getting into our like overall like opinions on the two. Um it's really like interesting because they're so, like to any normal person they're basically identical, but like to a like a big Galaxy's Edge nerd, like there's definitely
Yep.
noticeable differences. I felt like um I had a slight preference for Galaxy's Edge West.
Mm.
Um, and there's a couple reasons for that. One, the third entrance is really cool. I
Mhm.
really like that. Another one is that it's so hard to believe because Disneyland is the second most visited theme park in the world. Um, but if you were not looking for Galaxy's Edge, you would totally miss it. Like it is
Good.
so hidden. Like it's like you'd be confused with like taking a little patch of the bathroom or something. I mean, that's how
Mhm.
you get there. It's very hidden, and they really design because Hollywood Studios is a lot more space because it's a theme park in the middle of nowhere, whereas Disneyland is in the middle of a city. They're very space constrained. They designed Galaxy's Edge for Disneyland, and they just like
Mhm.
picked it up and placed it in Hollywood Studios. And so
Okay.
because of that, they really like blended in to uh, the landscape and everything at Disneyland better than it does at Hollywood Studios. And so I think it kind of blends into that park a little better. Um, I would say the biggest complaint I have for Galaxy's Edge West is that they take the timeline and like in universeness less seriously than we do on the East
Mm.
Coast. When both of them opened, they were very strict about it, and they're still fairly strict about it at Disney World. But you were not going to find anything that said Star Wars on it
Mhm.
at Galaxy's Edge. Like it's all like Black Spire themed. Now at Disneyland, that stuff is definitely starting to like filter in. Like you're gonna find like a T-shirt that says like Darth Vader, Star Wars, that
Mhm.
type stuff on it. Um, and so I think that's like a dock against them. But because Disney, so another key difference between Disneyland and Disney World, just in general, is Disneyland caters to a more local audience.
Mm.
Disney World is more of a global, like
Mhm.
tourist audience. Because of that, Disneyland has to like do new things all the time, like new snacks and
Mm.
merchandise, all that stuff that Disney World doesn't have to do to appease their audience. So because of that, Disneyland definitely has more interesting, like food and merch
Mhm.
opportunities.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about you,
Um,
Austin?
I will very easily say that Galaxy's Edge East is far superior. And for me, it is such a petty little stupid reason. It's exactly what Austin mentioned with the continuity. To me, the theme, this land rests on its continuity. And when you start to drift away from it, it makes this really immersive, special land with its own story kind of start to fall apart. And it makes it less exciting. You know, if we started having Star Wars t-shirts hanging up all over the place, it's lost. The whole experience will have been lost. So I am hoping that Galaxy's Edge East gets to maintain its sense of continuity. Um, Austin is going to talk about some of the changes that are coming to Galaxy's Edge West. I do have to say the after show, the evening show at Galaxy's Edge West was an incredible disappointment. In the past, the West show had clips from the movies set to music, and they were projection on the spires, and it was kind of telling a story. This literally played 4, maybe 5 songs from the original trilogy only, which is a knock against it because come on, there's 6 of the movies with amazing scores.
Mhm.
Um, and it had some TIE fighters flying across the like little like silhouettes of TIE fighters or X-Wings flying across. Maybe the Millennium Falcon came up once, I don't remember. And that was it. That was the whole thing. And I just stood there and I was like, when are we getting to like the show? It felt low budget. It felt like
Mm.
someone just pressed play on a music box or on like a CD player or something and put a flashlight up on the thing and on the spires, and that was it. So I was
Mhm.
incredibly disappointed. I would say that I have a scathing review of that show. I thought it was terrible.
Wow.
It was very disappointing.
I didn't think it was that bad. I will say, at having watched the original version like online, I was a little disappointed that it was not as good as the first version. I do really appreciate that there actually is like a reason it's happening. It's not like you're just walking along and then it just starts. There's like they have a projection of a guy called, I think he's called the Lore Keeper,
Mhm.
and he's like a
Mhm.
storyteller on um Galaxy's Edge. But the reality of it is that, like you were going to be able to see the fireworks from there, whether they did Star Wars music or not. So
Mhm.
I would rather them do like what they do, even if it's not like full throated production. It's cool that they have that. Okay. So if you are like pay really any attention to like Star Wars news, particularly as it pertains to the parks, you've probably heard about Disneyland changing the timeline of their Galaxy's Edge. Glad we got to visit before it was fully implemented. We kind of visited it mid transition. So
Mm.
a couple of things were closed while we were there. So the cantina was closed and the First Order cargo store closed. And it's closed because they're changing the timeline of Galaxy's Edge.
Mhm.
A complaint that's been against Galaxy's Edge the entire time, ever since it was announced until now, is that a lot of people don't like the strict timeline. They feel like you should be able to see the whole spectrum of Star Wars,
Mhm.
not just like a split moment of time. Because Galaxy's Edge takes place in a very specific moment in Star Wars, which is like one day in between episodes 8 and 9. And so that combination of putting it in the sequel trilogy, which is not universally beloved. I think most people do like it, but there are loud voices that don't. But that being not universally beloved, and then them also pulling back on a lot of the um, other offerings, because like when they announced the land, they promised aliens and droids and like more
Mhm.
interactivity with the land. That never really came to be.
Uh-huh.
Um, because of that, some people have found the land a little lackluster. A
Mhm.
good comparison land is the Avengers land they have at Disneyland. That was something we got to experience, and that land has characters from the entire like MCU there. And so we spent, in the grand scheme of things, not that long um, in Avengers Campus, and I know I saw Spider Man, Ant Man, Wasp, Hawkeye, Black Widow, Thor, Mighty Thor, Black Panther, and Shuri Black Panther,
Mm.
like all like in like the two times I walked through that land, I saw all of those
Mhm.
characters walking around. So that's a very different experience than Galaxy's Edge, where the original lineup of characters was Rey, Kylo, Chewie, Stormtroopers, and Vi Marati, who's an original
Mhm.
character to Black Spire Outpost. Um, Disneyland the whole time has been a little looser with it. They have back at this point probably 3 years ago brought Mandalorian and Grogu into the land to great success. And if like as new shows and things have come along, they've like brought people out for little bits at a time. But with this new timeline change, they've announced that the land is going to be broken into 3 sections. The area beside Rise of the Resistance is going to stay in the sequel timeline. The marketplace, where a lot of the stores and dining is, that is going to be the Mandalorian timeline. And then the area near the cantina and the Millennium Falcon and the former First Order area, that is going to be original trilogy timeline. Kylo's TIE fighter that's there, they're like retroactively making that to be that was one of Darth Vader's TIE fighters, and
Mm.
Kylo used it as like a retro car. Basically, it was like in like an
Mm.
old like retro car in like modern terms. Um, so that's why Vader has the same ship. Uh, then they're changing the couple of the stores. So Oga in the current timeline, Oga is like she's the gangster that runs Black Spire. Now we're going back to like her early days. Just somebody that doesn't pay attention, the cantina looks the same, but some of the signage and stuff kind of reflects that change.
Mhm.
Another notable one is the Droid Depot. So currently, it's being run by an Utai from Utapau named Mubo. Now it's being run by his grandparents, and because a
Mm.
huge part of that is being able to build um, R2 units, but also BB units, which are like relatively new to the sequel timeline. They have changed it to where they are the actual creators of the BB droid, and so they're like
Mm.
prototyping it for the people that are
Hmm.
building them now. So I think that was a fun little twist.
Mhm.
And then lastly, the what was used to be the First Order cargo, which is where you could get your like Stormtrooper and Kylo Ren merch. That is now being it's now going to be called the Black Spire Surplus, and it's being
Mm.
run by 2 former Stormtroopers, one who went with the Rebellion and one who went with the Empire. And now they're running like a military surplus store. And then lastly, the big change, like one of the big announcements they made, was that music is being brought to the land for the first time.
Mhm.
Currently, you can only hear music in the transition period. One thing Disney really prides himself on is like the transition between lands. And so when you're like kind of going tunnels into Galaxy's Edge, you hear this Grammy award winning score that John Williams composed for Galaxy's Edge that I
Mm.
really love. But you really only hear it in that transition period, and you hear it on the 2 rides. Um, but outside of that, there's no music in the land. Now they are changing it to play Star Wars score throughout the land. So instead, we don't really know to the effect how much it's going to be implemented, but it's going to be you're going to be at least to some degree that instead of the ambient like ship noise and droid noise and everything you hear throughout the land right now.
Mhm.
So Going through all of that, Austin, what's your reaction to this information?
Bad.
Yeah.
Um, I think from a business perspective and from a marketing perspective, what they're doing is probably a good thing. I know that the original trilogy is going to bring in more people than the sequel trilogy is going to bring in. From a fan perspective, I am kind of annoyed. What is so special about Galaxy's Edge to me is that when I'm there, I feel like I'm inside Star Wars. And when there's music, as amazing as the music is, that takes me out of it. When I see characters who should exist 30 years apart, that takes me out of it. The separation between those spaces is not there enough for it to authentically feel like different timelines. In reality, if you're in your brain, you can section it off like that. It's not sectioned off. It's right next to each other. It's right there. Like it's literally right there. So there's really not a way to section it off appropriately. And it's kind of one of those things where you start slipping. You're going to keep not caring about continuity until eventually the continuity is gone. I think getting rid of Vi is nauseating. I love her so much, and I wish they had done more with her. And I know people didn't know who she was, but if they'd done more with her, then people may have learned who she was, and they didn't try to do that. So I'm disappointed, but I get it.
Yeah, I would say I'm kind of right there with you. I'm open to seeing how they do, and I do appreciate that they're trying to come up with like lore reasons for everything, like thinking about like, oh, the BB-8 droid shouldn't exist then, like coming up with a reason why it does. Like, I appreciate that
I do
showing a
appreciate that.
degree, that's showing a degree of like they're not doing this willy nilly.
Mhm.
Yeah, one thing that's really great about the Imagineers is they do get marching orders, but they're like trying to do their best within the
Yeah.
constraints they have. And I think it's neat that they're doing like new costumes for like Leia and everybody, and so it's like blending in with the environment. You know, they're not just slapping her in there with her cinnamon bun hair and her like classic episode 4 outfit. You know, they're giving her, I think it's actually what she wears in Battlefront.
I think that's the
And
case.
so I think that's a cool thing. I'm open to the music thing. I hope there still is that ambient noise with the ships overhead and like hearing the radio chatter, all that stuff. That's some special effects in the land that I hope they do keep to some degree. Um,
You know the music is just going to be original trilogy music.
Oh, I know for a fact it is. They've told us what they're playing. That is what it is. Maybe we'll
See, this
get
is my problem. This is my
maybe we'll
problem.
get some maybe we'll get Ray's theme in the Resistance area or something like that. But or at minimum like March of the Resistance. Like, I feel like they'll probably play that near Rise of the Resistance. But I and the other thing I appreciate is there's very little like structural, like physical changes they're making,
Mhm.
so that things can revert if they want to. Like something, and I'm sure they're thinking about this, is Starfighter comes out next year, and that's like sequel era. If Ryan Gosling is charismatic in Starfighter as he is in Project Hail Mary, I think they're probably going to
Mhm.
want his characters in this land, like for people to
Yeah.
interact with. So, um, you know, it's giving them some flexibility. But what I'd really like to know is, Mike, you've never been before. Would you have more, like, as someone who's never been, and like whenever you do get to go, it'll be your first experience, like in a Star Wars theme park land. Would you rather see the like sequel Pure Land that has like less characters and stuff, but is more ideologically or timeline consistent? Or would you rather see a land that has like a lot more characters and stuff, but it's not as strict to Star Wars continuity?
Having never been, I don't think I would ever think that I'm not in a theme park.
Uh,
And so I'm okay seeing all of the characters that I love, or a lot of the characters that I love, because I won't see all of them. I don't think Claude is going to be there. I don't think Two Tubes Benthic is going to be there. But getting to see a lot of characters. And right now it's uh the original trilogy, but I was like, let's get some prequel characters in there. If Padme is there, would you feel differently?
No, they're never doing that. They're never putting Padme in there. I think that there is a beautiful spot right by Star Tours. Now we're talking about Disney World at this point, but there's a beautiful spot where they can put those characters outside of Galaxy's Edge.
I don't know.
That is the thought.
I just don't think that I would ever think that I'm not in a theme park, and I'm not, because I'm not a theme park person, so like I just wouldn't be able to get into that mindset, I think. And so I kind of, in a way, I like the idea. I don't like that Vi Marati is leaving, because that's such a cool character, and I'm like, I love the books, and there's a book character there, and that's sad that this character that was created for Galaxy's Edge is no longer going to be at Galaxy's Edge West. That sucks. But most of the other stuff, the continuity of it doesn't matter to me, really. And probably a big part is I've never experienced it, so I don't know what it's like, right?
Mhm.
But it doesn't bother me.
No, I don't bemoan people who prefer it that way, but I do not, and I think it's gonna mess it up. But
You never need to go back.
no, I'm
Just like,
I'm getting married to the person who's gonna make that happen.
but just like we have talked about it, and people don't do this in Star Wars especially, but other stuff is, if you don't like something, don't watch it, right? Like, honestly, like, I know it's hard, and you guys will want to go back, and I think you'll still probably enjoy it somewhat. You won't just sit in Galaxy's Edge West, I hope. But like,
I'm
you
capable
don't
of
like
that.
that movie, don't watch it. You don't like that TV show, don't watch it. You don't like that book, don't read it, right? Like, you don't have to love every single possible aspect of Star Wars to its full extent, and that's okay, right? Like, that's okay. And just, some different Star Wars is for different people, and we've talked about that before. So I'm kind of like, that's where I'm sort of landing on it, is, this is going to be for a different group of fans, a different type of person that's going to find real enjoyment out of it. And I know that's hard, but like, that's kind of what I'm thinking about, is we'd say the same thing if people were talking about a movie that they didn't like, if it's episode
I
9
think
or
the
1 or
difference is
3
that
or
it's
whatever.
changing something. You're taking something that already existed and making it less special.
Did the prequels and sequels not change Star Wars too, though? Like, they changed something that existed. There's an established canon, and then they changed it.
I just don't think it's not the same thing to me.
Yeah. Okay.
I
That's
think the
not
nice I
really.
think the nice thing though is, at least for the time being, we have both options.
Right.
We
Yeah.
have East and West. So you can kind of choose your own adventure type thing.
Right.
We'll see how long that lasts, but I think it's good that we have both.
Yeah. I'll go to one of them eventually. I plan to do that, and go and do all the things, and build a lightsaber and build a droid and all of that stuff at some point. But having never been there, just, I'm like, yeah, if it's going to keep it around, if it's going to mean that Galaxy's Edge just in general exists longer and is more successful, that's great. I'd rather have it along longer than stick to something specific and have it just close, like the Halcyon.
We should have
Yeah.
gone to the Halcyon. That's my biggest
Yeah, I
regret.
do. I really
couldn't
regret
afford
not doing
that.
It's
that.
one of my biggest regrets.
Go to HalcyCon.
Yeah, we
I
gotta do
know,
that sometime.
Right.
With all
Yeah.
of our free trips we have.
Right. Yeah.
All our free vacation time.
Do you guys have anything else to add before we close out and talk a little bit about what we're going to be doing next?
Moral of the story is, go to Galaxy's Edge and have a good time.
Yeah. Right? Exactly. I like that. Well, yeah, so coming up in the next couple days when this episode will be out, and the next week will be the start of Maul Shadow Lord. And
Mhm.
we have some personal stuff coming up, so we're not going to be doing an episode for just those first 2 episodes that are out on April 6th. But we are going to do an episode covering the first 4 that following week. And we're going to change our timeline around. We usually release on Mondays, but because the show is coming out Monday, we're going to watch and record on Mondays and try and get it out in the following days after that. So hopefully
Mhm.
before Fridays, we're going to put an episode out so you're able to watch before the next episodes come out. So keep an eye on that. It looks like, based on the trailers, it's going to be an amazing show. And I'm really excited to watch and see what they do. All right. Anything you guys want to say before we say goodbye?
Can I sing Time to Say Goodbye?
No, you may not.
No. No. Only in
Vetoed,
November and
overruled.
December.
Then I have nothing further to say.
Thanks everyone for joining us to talk about the galaxy far, far away. You can find us on Instagram, Blue Sky, YouTube, and TikTok as Rogue3 Media. We look forward to talking with you at the next rendezvous point.